Well, good morning. This is Dr. Bill Williams on the Influencers Podcast, and it's a good time of year between Christmas and New Year's. We are interviewing some of the most influential people across America today, and especially I want to welcome our guest that's fixing to join us, Dr. Foojan Zeine. Dr. Foojan Zeine is founder of the Awareness Integration Institute. She's a psychotherapist living on the West Coast near San Clemente, California, I understand. So let me bring her on, our friend Foojan Zeine. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It is so nice to be with you today and everyone who's with us.
Anytime that we can interview somebody that lives in California who doesn't have to put up with the ice and snow, we feel like we need to have some cool words to warm us up.
It is beautiful here. We just got a little bit of rain yesterday, but before that, we were almost like 80 degrees for a couple of days. So
Don't tell us about your blessings. That's terrible. We're sitting here with minus 10 degrees. It's cold here in Georgia, even.
you get to play with snow. We get to play with sun.
Yeah, luckily we escaped the ice and snow. We just have the cold and the wind. But hey, sunny California has got a lot of good things going for it. And one of them is your Awareness Integration Institute. So why don't we jump in and find out what that's all about and what you have to say about it?
Of course. I have been a therapist and a coach for about 30 years plus. And what I did was I got trained in almost all the theories who are out there, major theories who are out there. I got trained in them. I worked with them. I worked with my clients. And I took what I can say the best out of like the cognitive therapies, the emotional therapies, the body and mind, the trauma work, and brought all of them together in a structured setup, which allows a person to go through structured, although they're open-ended questions and processes where you could become aware of your thought process, your emotional process, your behaviors, and the impact that you have on your life and other people's life based on the attitude that comes in internally. And then we also relate to everyone. We live in relationships. We don't live beyond relationship. It's always, we even have relationship with ourselves all the time. There's a dialogue that is happening with us, toward us. And therefore, we want to examine those and we become aware of all of the processes that are happening inside. And then we look at all of the, maybe the belief systems that we have acquired through our own experience, but more than anything through our family and circumstances and, generations after generations, which have given us the gift of our belief systems. And the society has done that to kind of look at those and see what worked for us, what doesn't work for us, and the negative core beliefs that are kind of generalized within us that no longer work, maybe never worked. We picked them up, or at one point in our life it worked, but it's no longer working. And there's a process that goes in and cleans up the past and reintegrates us. When our psyche can't handle something, we kind of separate ourselves in different ways. And then we live separate parts. We do that in addictions. We do that in relationships. We do that even in skill building. Sometimes we have a skill, amazing skill in our career, but we don't transfer that skill into our love life or intimate relationship or parenting, or even the way we are with ourselves. Sometimes we're amazing with other people, but not very good to ourselves. So these are all the separate parts that have gotten created. We bring them together and integrate them. And then we plan for the future from a place of complete whole. So this model creates an awareness of the present, cleans up the past, and envisions and becomes an intentional process toward the future.
Well, that's a good detailed answer to the question of how you got started and what the integration model is about. I know there had to be a germination, something that led you to come to this realization and put this together. Would it be your greatest failure story? And did that have something to do with it? and how did you turn it into something positive?
I came from a family that was very loving, but not necessarily had all the skills. And I was also privy to being abused as a child, sexual abuse from 3 to 8. I came to the United States as an immigrant when I was 12, and I practically kind of raised myself. So you can imagine that I had a lot of like survival skills, and I survived well, but I didn't know how to live well. So when I started saying, this is what I'm going to create, I'm going to, create my own business, I'm going to get my home, I'm going to get married. It was all like, I'm going to get something just to prove. But what happened is when I got them all around age 28, I wasn't happy. I was depressed. And it was like, it doesn't make sense. I said I'm going to get things. I got them. But I got them out of the survival skills and not something that I knew how to enjoy life and how to be happy. It was always like surviving a struggle of something in my head. So as I started going to therapy and all of the seminars and, self-growth seminars, I started looking at all these areas of life and how to clean up the past, because the past was constantly coming. When I went to many of the conferences with the masters in psychological theories, there was one piece that was missing, and I kept listening for it. And we could challenge the belief systems, the negative ones, but somehow nobody was talking about dismantling them. And it's like, if I'm the one who created it, I must be able to dismantle it. So that was the trigger to start searching in all of the theories and working with my clients in myself personally to look at how can I dismantle what I created. If I said I'm not good enough, if I'm the one who said, I'm not competent, any of those beliefs that I said I am and I created that identity, I must be able to dismantle it. And that's how this whole thing got triggered, in a way of working toward cleaning up and being present to the moment, watching, being in the reality, co-creating life outside, versus this kind of like a delusional thing we all do in our head, that we only live here and only project what's here outside, which is not the real world. That's what the trigger was. And I'm so glad, because we've done so many research. We're publishing paper right and left. We're doing research. And it's all showing that when people are cleaning up, being aware, and not just cleaning up, but being aware of the present, being intentional in what they're doing, we've been able to minimize depression almost about 75% in these research, reduce anxiety about 64%, and raise self-esteem, self-efficacy, and self-agency. And Bill, not even just doing therapy. We've done this research by people going through the book Life Reset, and going through just the process as a self-help journal. And we've done the research in Cal State Long Beach, as the students were just journaling for 15 weeks. That's all they did. We still got 64% minimization in depression and anxiety. So we've got phenomenal results.
It sounds like that dismantling is an essential part, and then some people don't know how to do the things they need to do to succeed. Tell us what you think are the 3 reasons why people fail.
One is, I think they believe in some of the stuff that they say to themselves. For example, if somebody tells them, you don't look good, or why are you doing this? Out of 10 things that are said to them that are good and they're positive and shows their strength, our brain goes after the one thing that is said to us as a negative, brings it in, generalizes it about ourselves. And, this is a system to protect ourselves, but sometimes we're overprotecting ourselves and generalizing it. So that concept holds us back. So we go after fixing ourselves in the world versus looking at our strength, looking at our resilience, looking at coming through. And that's one of the biggest things that I think it's important to look at that makes people fail. The other one is we keep looking at the past as if it's real and if it's continuing. where every moment we're changing, every moment, every day our body is changing, our psyche is changing, who we are is changing. And we get fixated as if we're an object, it's as if like I'm a table who's sitting there. And if I go back 30 years, it's the same thing. That's not accurate. So living outside of ourselves with what's going on and co-creating moves us forward. But living only in my head, looking at myself only as a fixed object and a negative fixed object, even if you say I'm a positive fixed object, that still is going to be to your detriment and not living really with reality.
Let us go into a lightning round now, and I'm going to ask you a series of really interesting questions, and I want you to just fire at me what your first thought is. First of all, what motivates you internally?
Love. Love of humanity, love of being together, love of giving. I wake up every morning in a way of wanting to give and wanting to receive, and creating that, the giving and receiving.
Perfect. So, what are your top 3 success secrets that others can model from?
I forgive. I forgive because of wanting to create love. The second one is I've promised myself not to stay angry and not to act angry. So when I get angry, which is a normal feeling for a human being, I cherish myself and I get the point. What is the point of that I'm trying to say or create for myself or take a stand for myself, and then try to say it in a way that it's landed for the other person. And The third one is to be on integrity. I attempt to be honest with myself first and then others, and do what I need to do, even if nobody's looking, to be on integrity, because I've found that it really reduces anxiety when you are on integrity.
I agree with that totally. Those 3 will be a winner in anybody's book. What is your company, or actually your practice's motto?
Um, I intend for 8 billion people on the face of the earth to have access to a skill to alleviate misery for themselves.
A billion? Only a billion.
8 billion people on the face of the earth.
Wonderful.
I think it's like a tipping point, like if we get the skills, like, when you learn how to cook, 8 billion people have the ability to cook. So it's the ability to look at yourself and work with yourself in a way that you reduce misery for yourself. Like a lot of times it's a self-induced misery. Traumas are there, war is there, famine is there, all of it is there. It's like, but we survive. How did we become 8 billion? We survived it all, but then we go through a turmoil of creating trauma in our own head out of that versus being able to move through it.
So, how would you go about finding your ideal client?
Finding what?
Your ideal client?
Anybody who wants to and is eager to work on themselves and become a part of the society in a way that they want to influence or impact the society and impact, our life on earth to make it better. I think we all can collaborate together in that way. And anybody who says, I'm here and I'm committed to work on myself, I'm game. Let's do it together. And it's a journey that we go. I learn from every single client, and they learn from me. And we have an app that's coming out in January, Foojan app, which is going to take the model and it's going to be making it accessible to many, many more people around the world. We'll have it in different languages. So I think it's time for us to all grow up and live together in a beautiful harmony.
So that answers the question. The well-defined product is the app coming out in January.
Yes, the app is coming out in January. The app is going to have the same thing that is in the book, The Life Reset, but it takes you through the steps, step by step. And then we will have skill building videos from any area that the person becomes aware. Another thing about the awareness integration is we take it to every area of life, your area of relationship with your friends, with your family, with your mom, with your dad, with your children, with your body, with your illnesses, addiction. So you kind of work through the process in the areas of life that you have. So you kind of clean up all these areas, but also you understand what skills am I not having in one particular area of life. And then obviously you could go to the skill building videos. We have a lot of therapists. I train therapists and coaches and certify them there, and through the app they can also access those therapists and coaches if they need more of one-on-one support. And so yeah, that's the way I wish for 8 billion people to have access.
It makes a lot of sense that you can spread your word out through coaching and coaching others. How would somebody buy from you these products or services?
You can go to Foojan.com, Foojan.com, and that's the app. That's the website for the app. And for myself, you can go to FoojanZeine.com and get everything that I offer. Or if you wanted to have some therapy or coaching from me, to get more information about awareness integration is awarenessintegration.com. So any of those 3 .coms will give you information. There are 3 books that have been written. One is The Life Reset. Another one is Awareness Integration Therapy for coaches and therapists who would like to get certified. And then this year, 2022, we had our book, Intentional Parenting, which we go through every single stage of child's life. And not only we talk about the cognitive, emotional stages, motor skill stages, what is needed. And then from the awareness integration theory, we share with parents and teachers and whomever's working with children and how to work with children to have better emotional management skills. And we've found when you teach a child how to handle their emotion, they're more apt to be open to learn, and they're getting higher school readiness and higher level of learning because their emotions are not turmoiling inside all the time.
Now, there are many fields of study, schools of thought in psychotherapy. So how do you handle the competition?
I've learned from them. I honor them. And it's like the same way that I come in and add this, I've done EMDR for eye movement desensitization and processing for trauma for 25 years. And I think it's a magical technique. And I combine them. I bring them in when it's needed as a tool. I've worked with hypnosis for 30 years. A part of the process that we use, it's like, you go through hypnosis to go inside and reintegrate. It's an open-ended structure, and I share with the therapists and coaches that I train, which is we bring the best that is out there and combine it together and bring it out. And it's like it's alive. It's the same way that I say we're not an object. The theory and the model cannot be an object. It cannot be a fixed thing. So it's alive. It moves, it brings in the next level thing. So how do I handle it? I'm like, let's collaborate together. The collaboration is what makes us get better and better and better. So it's not about me or the model. It's about it moving. If one day this no longer works, it no longer works. But if it's moving, then it's going to add and adapt to whatever it is that human being needs, or the latest science will bring, and then we'll adapt it and take it in again.
It's integration, and that really fits in well with my belief system too, that you put all the pieces together, you'll get a better whole.
Yes.
How do you handle rejections? All your clients are not always perfect, I'm sure.
Oh, yes, and I'm not perfect. And very hard at the beginning. It's almost like, And then I remind myself that it's not personal. And two, what can I learn from this? If something happened that it didn't connect or we didn't connect, um, is there anything that I can do or share that it would be different? And if it's not, then I learn and, kind of like do this and move forward. I'm trying to get the Teflon effect, that it like a non-stick.
Particularly if you get an angry client, what happens?
Yes, yes. At that moment, I've noticed myself that I get very like, my boundaries come up and my shield comes up. Before I used to get angry back, and now I've learned that anger is a way they're trying to protect themselves. And if I'm coming across in any way that is a threat to them, so I soften up myself. Obviously, I go from a space of love and remind them that I'm on their side. And if they're just dumping their anger because it's a space, then I kind of like remove myself and say, here, dump it here instead of toward me. So I kind of like get out of the way, but allow the space for them to dump their anger. But sometimes we have to set boundaries, and some people might not have the boundaries, and that might be a learning skills also for them to get the boundary. But what I've noticed is when I've done the boundary from where I'm angry at them or judging them, it backfires. But when I set the boundary from, I'm taking care of myself, but in the meantime, I'm also loving you, but I need to set this boundary, that it lands better. And it might not look like it's landing better right now because they're still like, the physiology is like, but overall, when time passes, you'll see that, it resonates with the other person that it was all okay.
Sure, sure. And then how do you deliver that 5-star client experience as you move forward in these relationships?
Bill, I think the key to what I've found is really loving and accepting them. The techniques are making us go faster. That's all. But I think the essence is, for me as a human being who's sitting there as a role of a therapist or a coach, is to truly love and accept the person who's sitting in front of me and not hold any expectations, and just see this as a journey that we're working together. And I've seen that really, really work, because I've seen human beings flourish in the love and acceptance. And you can have the best techniques in the world, you can be a scholar, but if the acceptance is not under it or the love isn't under it, they'll learn the skills, but it doesn't shift anything inside the person. They'll use the skills as a methodology or a strategy, but it doesn't doesn't melt in, it doesn't integrate within the system to shift and transform. So I've really, through the 30 years, seen it's the energy of love and acceptance that transforms human beings and lifts that kind of misery that we were talking about. It's almost like you could handle any miserable thing. You could handle any trauma in this space.
If you bring people through this process with that 5-star experience, then they probably become brand ambassadors.
Yes. And every human being that we touch and shift, they're not solo. They have a family. I just recently finished a class. I'm teaching this in Cal State Long Beach. I finished a class called Mental Health and Mental Well-Being. And, we did the book was there, and they did the same thing, like they journal through and all of it. And at the end, each one of them was supposed to give me a 15-minute presentation of how the awareness integration theory helped them. And I was just sitting there bawling. I'm a good crier too. Like, every time I connect, I just, we're just sitting there listening to how these, this person went through and changed their relationship with their sister, with their brother, with their mother, with their father, with their finances, with their body, with the trauma that they had. And this way you see that when the person is shifting, it's not one human being who's shifting. They're shifting all of their relationships into a system. So it's like a domino effect that is happening within that relationship. And that's how I think that we'll get the tipping point to 8 billion.
So today, the week after Christmas, the half a week before New Year's, what are you thankful for today, Dr. Foojan?
I'm thankful that I'm healthy. Um, I'm thankful for my relationship with my husband and my friends, and just being among amazing people. I'm thankful for people trusting me and allowing me to be in their world. And um, it's just amazing to be alive and kicking every day, especially like hang in there with healthy. And I love my dog. His name is Spock, Mr. Spock, and gives
Mr.
them
Spock.
the most amount of unconditional love that you can ever experience is being given and received from this beautiful dog.
So you start your day with Mr. Spot?
I start my day with Mr. Spock, licking and kissing and, telling me that he wants a treat. Waking up with my husband and being grateful. And I get to choose him every day. Like, oh, I choose you again as my husband this morning. And then I try to go in and tap into the loving place in me. Sometimes I wake up and it's like, why is it cold? And why is it hot? And why is this? And why is that? And I catch myself in that way. And it's coming back and breathing and coming kind of like, I don't do meditation, sitting meditation. I do my stuff and meditate. It's almost like an active, but I connect in that place and kind of like expand in my heart. And then I set up an intention that I intend today to be loving, to be accepting, to be intentional, to be, to make a positive influence and positive impact on people who come across my path or I come across their path. And, I go through what I need to do during the day and kind of put like an intention into beside each one of them. That's how I start.
So you have a goal to reach 1 billion people with this message to influence 1 billion people. How do you plan to achieve your goal?
I am attempting to go into different routes. So it's an educational and a psychological model, right? So we are, through the app, we're taking it to people. Through teaching therapists and coaches and teachers, we're taking it for people who can access directly to their clients. We've done research with infants up to 6 years of age in daycare. We're getting astonishing results on them getting school ready and emotional regulation. Our next level is to also take it to junior high and high schools as a mental health course, the same way we're taking it into college education. So side by side, from a healing perspective of, therapists and coaches, and side by side from educational level to go into school. So parents know that with the book, we got them for parents to learn. So it's starting to bring this into a system. The same way, for example, you saw mindfulness, which wasn't necessarily into a curriculum, coming into curriculums where anywhere you go as a mainstream, now you've heard about meditation. Now you know how to do it. The skills are out there everywhere. That's what I'm also attempting to do, which is bring the skills of the structures of this for people to have on everyday life and use it as if they're, breathing air.
So what happens if you don't achieve your goal?
I'll be happy that I've created what I've created and I gave it away the same way other people, created their gifts. All of the people who had, theories or spiritual guides or all of them that I've learned from them, they gave their gift and I integrated it in my system and they will always be in my heart and they were like they're part of this. I'm hoping that whatever up to now it's been created, that it flourishes. And when I'm gone, somebody else, the same way I took some other, Albert Ellis and uh, um, Freud and other people's work and put them together and, and went to the next level. I'm sure other people will do. We're training other people who are going to teach the program. So it's alive. It's alive and it will grow with each person they're going to bring their gift into it and put it out.
How do you overcome a challenge that life throws at you?
It does that a lot too. It's really trying to make me grow. I sit through it. I've found myself sometimes that it's like, if it's an emotional challenge, I first, freeze a little bit. And then I shake up and come back and go toward the solution. What is it that I need to do? And how can I do this so it's to the benefit of all? And sometimes I just have to accept that I got to take whatever it is. Like a challenge of aging. I do what I can do. And then the rest is I accept. I don't have the same energy as before. My brain is not as sharp as before. I'm not as quick as before. And there are things that I can do. I can exercise. I can do brain games. I can start learning. I thought, for a minute, I thought, okay, I'm losing my memory. And so I went to a neurologist. I did all of that. And they're like, yeah, but you're a little bit of short-term memory. So what did I do? I signed up for certificate courses in Harvard. So now I'm, at 61, I'm a student in Harvard again. And it's like, I'm going to do my part, but I also know that at one point I got to accept what is and, accept it with grace. And then just kind of like look at what that has for me. And that might have a whole new experience for me, whatever that is, which is, it doesn't feel like a success.
Well, looking back from your point of maturity, you've experienced life. What would you tell your 20-year-old self advice?
Hang in there. It all looks good anyway. All the
In the
valleys.
end, it comes out well.
There was a movie, I think it was an Indian movie that I was watching, and the sentence was, everything is going to be okay at the end, and if it's not the end yet.
True. Very true. Do you have a living mentor? What's the impact they had on you?
To be honest with you right now, my living mentors are the women in Iran. This is the first led women revolution in this country. And I am so proud and so flabbergasted with who they are, how they're taking a stance for themselves and for the country. And I truly wish them well. There's a lot of torture. There's a lot of rape. There's a lot of beating. There's a lot of hanging. It's a lot of brutality. So when we talk about a world that is traumatizing, and yet, when you look at the trauma, post-traumatic growth and having a purpose to move through, it's amazing. Every day when I look at them and I hear the news, I become more and more proud. And I need to support them. And I hope that everyone around the world takes this on and supports them.
I agree totally. I was reading articles today about the chess player that was in an international chess match who went to the second match without her hijab, which was in violation. And she was proud to represent Iran as a woman without a symbol.
Yes.
So tell me, why is being impactful important to you, Dr. Zeine?
I think that we as a genetic, component, what we come to the world, our basis is to recreate ourselves, and that's our whole purpose, right? From a biological perspective, we find a mate, we procreate, and pretty much we're done. We have this the next generation up and running, and we should be done from a biological perspective. Um, but the question becomes, what do we do with each other while we create, we create the next generation, but then what are we doing with it? Like famine and war and, all of that. So I think being intentional in what we're creating. Are we creating the next generation, in a species that is healthy, or what we're doing is impacting, um, mentally ill, and in a way, people who are together who are destroying each other. So that's what I think we're impacting anyway, regardless of whether we're aware or not. Like, are we aware of how we're impacting the earth? Well, if we are, then we'll do something about it. And if we're not, we'll just unconsciously destroying it. So it's not whether we're impacting, it's of course that we're impacting. The only thing I'm suggesting, or I'm hoping, is that I choose the way I impact in a way that I'm proud of, that what I'm impacting, and that is to the benefit of all.
Well, I think the impact you're having will be felt by the billion people that you aspire to reach. So I'm happy to help out, and let me know, how can we support you in reaching all the people that you'd like to reach?
Well, letting people know about the app, working through the app, letting me know what works and what doesn't, so we could constantly make it better. For therapists, coaches, educators to become certified so they can do this with other people and make it grow. If people know, how to get this into the educational systems, how people know how to get them. Like I worked with a health coach who is working with crisis in hospitals, and she became a certified coach. And we were talking in how to bring this into a crisis mode, where how to work with people in crisis. So there's so many angles and demographics and groups that we could bring this into. I am game if anybody wants to do research on it or take this into a particular group to work together and test it, publish it, learn it, and make it grow.
Perfect, perfect. I'm glad we have an opportunity to share what you do, your insights into the world of psychotherapy and relationships with the world. And I think we will do that. How would you express your experience on the show today?
It's a blessing. I think that there's a sense of expansion that I have. It's a sense of friendship, um, and openness, um, that just gets created with you, with your presence, and what you're creating, and allowing our voice to become together, and to your audience and to the world. So thank you. So thank you, and I'm grateful and blessed to have you.
Thank you for that. I appreciate it, Dr. Zane. I want to give you the final word. I want you to be able to address the world, audience, people around the globe that might.
Um, let's be nice together and loving together, because I think that that's how we flourish. I think I'm impressed with the new generation for taking a stand, and always new generation takes a stand. But I think that the older generation can also be a great role model to the new generation. We might not know the technology, and the new generation might be going much faster than we are, but there is an essence and a beautiful fire in them, and we can guide that fire to be in a place that we could benefit all of us, and to be responsible for um, our health and mental health, and creating that type of a healthy environment for our next generation and our environment who are around us. So every action I do, can I look at that impact? Am I impacting in a beautiful way or a destructive way? And I hope you choose the constructive and then alignment way with everybody. Thank you.
Nobody could say it better than you, Dr. Foojan Zeine of the Awareness Integration Institute. It's been a pleasure having you on the Influencers Podcast. I understand what you're saying. I agree with everything. From a point of view of a medical therapist, a mental health therapist is an integration that needs to be plugged in to the model of overall health so much more than it is. So what you have to offer is valuable. And for the future, I wish you good will and the best of luck. And anything we can do to help you bring this to the public around the globe, count on us to be an advocate of your therapy and your concept. So thank you again for being on the Influencers Podcast.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.
All right.
Happy holidays.
Thank you. I appreciate you being here. This has been Dr. Bill Williams on the Influencers Podcast with Dr. Foojan Zeine. And because we have such influential people on the podcast, I know you're going to want to share this, comment below, and make this a regular part of your week, is to follow influential people on the Influencers Podcast. So thank you for attending, and stay tuned for more podcasts related to how to find influential people that you can relate to in your life so that you can become a stronger, better person. And with that, we'll say goodbye until Friday. We'll do another set of podcasts. Look forward to seeing you then. Good night, all.